Hi everyone, welcome to the Actors Academy and thank you for tuning in today. If this is your first time here, don't forget to follow us and subscribe so you can be up to date with all the acting knowledge that we give you. And if you want to be a part of our community and be even closer with us, you can join our 10-hour acting masterclass, our 2.0 version, which is always linked down in the description down below and also in the comment section. So, what is this video today about? It's going to be about finances for the actor, money, different things like that, where it comes down to the business side of acting. Now, I know a lot of you are interested in the more artistic side, which we talk about a lot on this channel, where it comes down to building your characters, character development, working on a scene, analyzing a script, building the story that you're trying to tell. But this is also another side of acting that people have to realize and also think about for their career. And if you don't think about finances, it'll actually hurt your career more than helping it. You have to do both for yourself. So I'm going to share my screen here with you. I put a lot of work into this and you're going to see what I'm looking at and we're going to be able to talk about this. So first we need to talk about the statistics. So in the union, SAG-AFTRA, which most of you hopefully know about, there is 160,000 members in the union. Now, most people think about this as being all actors. It's not. It's actually a culmination of a lot of different people. So there are actors in it, but it also consists of announcers, podcasters, journalists, dancers, DJs, news writers, news editors, program hosts, puppeteers, recording artists, singers, stunt performers, and voiceover artists. It encompasses a lot of different people. The thing that we also have to realize when it comes to statistics is that less than 1% of actors truly make it successfully. Making it in terms of being able to sustain themselves purely off of just acting, nothing else at all. Viola Davis has this great thing that she said, and I'm going to play the clip now, and you're going to see what I'm talking about.
You're looking at a profession where literally with acting, less than 1% of the people make 50 grand a year or more. Less than 1%. The rest, most of them can't even make enough to make health insurance, which is $11,000 a year.
So less than 1% of actors make 50K or more a year. That means 99% of actors are making way less than that, way less than that. So let's just take a look at the numbers real quick. Let's just say, for example, that 160,000 in the union, let's just give it the benefit and say, you know what, those are all actors. So the number is going to ultimately be a little bigger than it should be, but let's just give it to it. 1% of 160,000 is 1,600. That would mean less than 1,600 people make $50,000 a year. But mind you, they're not all actors, so this number is actually even smaller. Could it be less than 1,400, less than 1,500, less than 1,200? If I had the exact numbers for the actors, it'd be a much easier number survey to give, but I don't. But if we just base it off of this number alone is so small. And the other thing you have to realize, non-union actors is even worse because this is union actors. Think about all the actors who are not in the union, who want to get into the union. They're trying to get there, but they're making less because there are projects that non-union actors may do and they don't get paid anything. If you're in the union, you have to abide by certain contract rules. And the other thing you have to realize is that everyone starts out as a non-union actor. Everyone. So even when you see Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp, they all started out as non-unions until eventually they were able to get in. But for the statistics, the one thing that I really want you all to realize is less than 1% of actors truly make it successfully. Longevity is key. So Backstage did this article that according to this study, 2/3 of actors wash out after their first year of acting. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Make sure you're listening if you didn't listen the first time. 2/3 of actors wash out after their first year of acting. That's a big number. And it gets even more and more as the years go on. It's going to be less after the second year, less after the third, fourth, fifth, and so on and so forth. The reason for that being is simply just because of the math, the percentages. 99% of actors are not going to make it. So it makes sense that if they get washed out and it gets smaller and smaller as the years go on. So the one thing I want you to realize is that the more you audition, the more potential chance you have at booking your auditions. The less you audition, the less chance you have. It's, again, simple math. What I'm trying to do in this video is break things down into facts. And yes, we're using math. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into trigonometry or anything like that. It's going to be simple math. But the great thing about math is that the math doesn't lie. and we can try and work with this to see how it can benefit us as actors. So if I gave you 100 auditions, or I gave another actor 10 auditions, who would have a better chance at potentially booking something? The actor who had 10 auditions, or you who I'm giving 100 auditions to? Well, math just says if 99% of actors don't make it and less than 1% do, well, you have a better chance if you audition for 100 auditions. Well, think about it this way. If 2/3 of actors quit after the first year, how many more auditions could they have got if they kept around for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years afterwards? They could have got a lot more, which gives them more potential bookings. If you get 30 auditions a year, but you're wiped out after 1 year, that means you get 30 auditions. If I allow you to be in this industry and audition for 10 years and you get 30 auditions a year, now I've given you 300 auditions at the end of 10 years. You have a better chance at booking than the person who just was out here for 1 year. But again, one of the main reasons that actors tend to leave is because of that lack of finance, which can lead to easier burnouts, which equals no longevity for you as the actor. So this is a breakdown what the typical struggling actor goes through. And this is their mindset of what they think. And in this video, I'm going to be trying to change your mindset a little bit. So typically an actor thinks that they must work a minimum wage job. Nothing is wrong with working a minimum wage job. I think more funny enough, people should work minimum wage jobs so they understand the value of money. But nothing's wrong with working it. It's just a lot of you consider it as being your only option that you have. And one of the reasons that you consider it being your only option is because a lot of you believe that it's a now or never circumstance. You believe that now you have to get into acting, and if you don't, you missed out. You think, oh, if you're in your teens or your 20s, you must pursue acting now. I even get messages or emails from people who are in their 50s, and they're asking me, hey, they want to pursue acting. They're asking me, is it too late? It's never too late. Think about how many movies or shows out there who there are 50-year-olds in that movie or in that show, or 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds. So people of all ages in movies and in TV shows. So for you to believe that it's a now or never situation is completely false. But if you believe that mindset, it can make you rush into things, which can make you forced to have to work a minimum wage job if that's not what you're actually wanting. If you want that, great. But if some people want to make more than the minimum wage, you do have that option at your disposal, and we'll talk about that. And then this ultimately means that people have little to no plan for themselves. If you were to plan things out a little bit more and really think about all of this, then you would have a more understanding of how you can make more money for yourself as an actor, which hopefully builds more longevity. Just think about it that way. More money is going to equal longer longevity for you as an actor. More money, more longevity, more potential bookings. Less money, less longevity, less potential bookings. That's the easiest way to think about this. So let me go and break this down even more for all of you. If we look at income for minimum wage, we're going to be really focusing on this in California. We can apply this to other states. Numbers will be off a little bit, but it's all going to be relatively the same. So in California, minimum wage is $16 an hour. You're also going to have expenses. If you're somebody who's living in Montana and you just said last week you want to go and pursue an acting career, so you're going to move out here next month, well, there's some things that you should realize are the expenses that you're going to have. A lot of the information that I'm going to be giving you is going to be from USA Today, it's going to be from Forbes, and it's going to be from JD Power. So the first thing is rent. Rent, I'm going to give you a little bit of a benefit on because rent, especially in California, is pretty expensive. And I'm putting it at $1,000, saying that's what your rent's going to be because I'm going to assume you're just going to be the typical actor. You're going to get some roommates. You guys are all going to rent together. So let's say for you, your rent is going to be $1,000. Groceries for a month is going to come out to $250 a month. Car gas is going to be $150. Phone is going to be $114. Internet is going to be $40. Natural gas is going to be $34, and then streaming is going to be about $50. Again, some of these things could be give or take, but this is going to be the general consensus for the expenses that you're going to have for yourself. So let's break that down into how much income then you're going to have at the end of the month. Again, remember, most actors quit after the first year. A lot of that has to do with finances. So let's break down what those finances end up becoming for why this happens. So if you're working a full-time job, at minimum wage, you're going to get paid at the end of the month $2,560. Now, your expenses If we total those all up together, it comes out to a little over $1,638. So if we have $2,560 and we minus $1,638, your expenses, that comes out to $922. That means at the end of the month, what you have to take home for yourself is $922. We're being very simple with the math here. We're not taking out any other expenses that are obviously there. We're just doing, hey, these are the monthly expenses that are static. They're here every single month. $922, that's your take home at the end of the month. For a lot of people, they might be happy with that. For another group of people, a lot of them may say, wow, that's not a lot of money at all, especially if you're worried about something happening, say, with your car. You get into car troubles, you have to go and pay for that. You want to go and hang out with friends. You want to go to a movie. You want to go out to dinner. Well, that can cost you a lot of money. If you go out to the movies can be easily up to $20, $25 with tax. And then if you go out to somewhere to eat, depending on what you're getting to eat, if you're getting drinks or getting food, that could be another $25. That's $50 in one night. So there's a lot of other expenses that can be applied that we're not going through in this video here. You have to do that for yourself. So now I want to break another thing down. That's working a minimum wage job. I have Target as an example for that. I put that as my staple here because on the Caleb Hammer video, the kid worked at Target, and a lot of people fall into the same category of just working any minimum wage job. So that's the one we put here. Again, nothing against any of this, but you must realize that you have options for yourself. If you want to work at Target, a minimum wage job for 40 hours a week, that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to do that, you also don't have to. I'm letting you all realize you have options. So another option that you have for yourself is there's so many other jobs out there. Now, some jobs may require you to go and get certain qualifications for. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to be an accountant, well, there's certain qualifications that you have to go through. But if you're somebody who doesn't mind crunching numbers together, well, maybe an accountant wouldn't be such a bad job to also do at the same time as you're pursuing acting. Because remember, you are working a job right now while you are pursuing your acting career. You already know simultaneously while you're pursuing your acting career, you're already working a job at the same time. What job you work, though, is up to you. A lot of people choose a minimum wage job. I'm telling you, you can choose another job. So if you were somebody, for example, who loved crunching numbers and you just loved math, well, maybe an accountant wouldn't be such a bad thing. Maybe you have to go through 2 years of getting your qualifications to become an accountant. But then after those 2 years, your income that you make is much higher than the minimum wage job, and you invested 2 years of your time in order to do that. But there's a lot of actors who are, say, 18 years old or 20 years old. Let's say you're 20, and you go and you work at a minimum wage job because you think that's your only option. Well, there's another actor who could say, you know what, I'm going to spend 2 years, get my qualifications for being an accountant, let's say, and now they're 22 years old, but their income is much higher than working that minimum wage job. Well, that's pretty damn good, because now what happens is that person who's 22 years old still looks young. 22-year-olds still look about the same as when they're 20. Little differences maybe here and there, but very similar. I know an actress who is in her 30s and she's playing a teenager on television right now. A lot of people who play teenage roles are in their 20s or even maybe in their 30s. So any job that you can think about that is in acting that you think you wouldn't mind doing, I would highly consider it for yourself. We're just going to go with a tax accountant and the average being $69,000. So that's lower than the CPA, that's lower than the payroll accountant. We're just going with the $69,000 one, just so you can see the example that I'm going to be giving you here. So they make on a yearly basis $69,000. So if we divide that by 12, that means every single month they make $5,750. Now, let's imagine you still have your expenses, though, that you have to pay. You got to pay your rent. You got to go and pay for your food, your car gas, and all of that. Well, you have to minus then $1,638. So at Target, your take home was $922 at the end of the month. As an accountant, your take home would be $4,112 at the end of the month. And it's not so bad if you say, hey, I'm going to spend 2 years to get this qualification, but now I'm going to be able to make so much more. Again, you can go and try and sustain yourself as an actor. My whole goal is to try and give more sustainability to you, since 2/3 of actors quit after 1 year, and finances are a big element of that. Well, if we can cut out that portion, cut out the finances of being an issue, all of a sudden you get to be out here longer, gives you more auditions. So let's break down these numbers a little bit more so you can understand this. As an actor, remember, less than 1% of people make it as an actor, which means you are not booking a lot. It's very common, especially if you're a new actor, to not book anything in the first 6 months. You may get auditions, you may audition, but you will probably not book anything within the first 6 months. So let's see what happens now while you're working at these 2 jobs after 6 months that go by, which you haven't booked anything. Let's see how much you make. So at Target, after 6 months, you would have made $5,532. As an accountant after 6 months, you would have made $24,672. The price gap is extreme in these scenarios. You make almost 5 times more money as the accountant. Now, of course, if you book something, if you become the next star of Stranger Things after 2 months, then of course you would quit the Target job. And of course you would also quit the accountant job, just as you would do with the same minimum wage job. You can do that with any other job. So that's the thing to realize. But most likely, by numbers, by math, you're not booking in those first 6 months. Very common. There's actors who haven't booked in 4 years. Very common. It happens to a lot of people because remember, 99% of people don't make it. So when we break down those numbers, that's what it is after 6 months. Let's look at it when it's after 1 year. If you're working at Target after 1 year in your bank account, you have $11,064. As an accountant in your bank account, you're going to have $49,344 after 1 year. Let's go another step further and say after 3 years. 3 years go by and you don't book anything at all. This happens to a lot of people. Or maybe you get small bookings here and there where you book a job and you're there for a day. Well, great, you're there for a day. You don't have to quit either job. You can keep your accountant job. You could keep your Target job, and you get a job and you're booking it for a day. There's no reason to leave yet. Unless you get that big Stranger Things role, then yeah, of course, leave any job that you're at. The next one is 3 years. So I just want you to see the difference in this. So if you're working at Target after 3 years, you would have $33,000 in your bank account. If you're working as an accountant, after 3 years, you will have $148,000. Target, $33,000. Accountant, $148,000. Big difference in the money gap here. And the time is going to go by either way. Now, again, imagine I said you spent 2 years and you went to go and get your qualifications. Now you're an accountant, you're 22, and then you start auditioning for the next 3 years. Now you're 25. Well, now you have $148,000 in your bank account. If there's another actor who's 22 years old, 3 years go by, they didn't do that in their 20s to get qualifications, to get some other job. It doesn't have to be an accountant, remember. It could be any job. But now those 2 years go by, and then the 3 years go by for the actual auditioning, and they're going to have $33,000 in their bank account. Now, this is something that I want actors to realize. You have ultimately options, and the more money you have ultimately means the more options that you have for yourself. So I just want you to think about this real quick. With that $148,000, let's say you don't book anything in 3 years. It sucks, that's a bummer, but it does happen to people. We have to realize for ourselves that that could happen. We don't want it to happen, but that could happen. If you don't book anything for 3 years and you have in your bank account $148,000, what you could do for yourself, hypothetically, you could say, you know what? I'm going to go and create my own short film. You have the money at your disposal. They typically say when you're creating a short film, the minimum budget that you need is about $10,000 to make a good looking short film. You could go and create 4 of those, still have $108,000 left in your bank account, and you could go and create 4 short films based off of stories that you create, stories you want to tell and be a part of, because there's so many things that you audition for, and you don't get to choose what the project is. It's just an opportunity, and you get to audition for it. And maybe you don't like the project, but that's the only thing that's at your disposal. With creating your own projects, you can create meaningful stories and impactful stories that you really want to be a part of and that you really want to tell and get out into the world. So that's one of the huge benefits of saying, if you have a job that gives you this type of income, well, now you could go and create 4 of those, and you can push them out to all the film festivals out there. And if you do a good job, well, again, guess who's going to get to notice you? Casting directors, producers, other actors, agents, managers, all these people start to get to know who you are because they're going to be seeing your face because they're saying, wow, you've put out good projects, good work. You have more options at your disposal when you have this type of money for yourself. And there's a lot of other things that you can do. You can still live your life. It's easier to go on different vacations. It's easier to go and have a certain lifestyle with that $150,000 in your bank account compared to the $33,000 in your bank account. And it makes it easier for you to sustain yourself as an actor. Again, doing a job that you don't mind doing. If you hate being an accountant, then this would be a terrible job for you to do, and this would burn you out very fast. That's why I'm saying find some job out there that you wouldn't mind doing, because then it's not so bad if you happen to not make it. It might make more than this accounting job. It may make the same. It may make less, but if you can find something you wouldn't mind doing, you're putting yourself in a good spot. Now let's say, you know what, 6 months go by for both jobs. And let's say you wanted to go and quit your job. Let's say for whatever reason, 6 months go by and maybe you booked a job acting and you booked it for 2 or 3 weeks and then you were forced to quit your job. You had to do it. Okay, no problem. 6 months, you have an income saved up. How long will that last you until you have to go and get your job again somewhere else? Well, if you're working at Target for 6 months, you have $5,500 basically in your bank account. And your monthly expenses come out to basically $1,600. So that's going to last you about 3 months until you're going to have to start working again at your job. With the accounting job, you're going to have saved up after 6 months a little over $24,000. That's going to last you 1 year and 3 months, a total of 15 months in total. The same 6 months for both individuals, but all of a sudden, one of them is able to last for 1 year and 3 months, and the other one is only able to last for 3 months after they quit their job. Mind you, I'm not actually an accountant, so I'm not actually giving any financial advice. We're just talking in this video about the numbers. That's it. I want to talk about briefly here some truths, okay? Nothing is wrong with a minimum wage job. That's the first thing. If you want a minimum wage job, no problem with that. I think most people should have a minimum wage job just so they have more of an appreciation for money and understanding of it. You have more options than you think. So that doesn't mean you need to have a minimum wage job for your whole life. You can have it for part of it, but when you're trying to pursue this acting career, if you can have more money at your disposal, again, in terms of longevity, 2/3 of actors quit after the first year. I'm trying to have you be that actor who can sustain yourself for a long period of time, who can sustain yourself for the next 20, 30, 40 years. If you're an accountant and you like doing numbers, again, you have to like the job, you have to enjoy it, or at least be okay with it. That can sustain you almost throughout your whole life. You have a good enough income coming in, that $150,000 after 3 years, you would have way more than enough for a down payment on a home. You have a lot there at your disposal. My goal is just to help you and give you the longevity. So that's being able to help give you the training, lifestyle, financial security, less neediness when you're going to your auditions, so you're not having to book it to get money for yourself. And ultimately, having more money just creates less stress for yourself. I also want you to realize that your wants and your goals may change. And that's okay. There's a lot of people who they think they want to do acting, and then they come out here and they start and they try and they audition, and they just realize that they just don't like acting. They don't quit because of finances or anything. They just realize that they don't like it. That is okay. That's your personal experience. That's okay. Maybe you're somebody who says, you know what, I want to go and have a family. Man, I can't go and have this minimum wage job. Maybe you can still audition. Maybe you can. It's up to you and your circumstances. But if you change, that is okay. I also have some more facts here from Art News. This is just artists in general. This doesn't specifically talk about actors, but I do think that this is an important thing that we all need to realize for ourselves. Again, the more information you have, the more you can plan for yourself on how to sustain longevity for yourself, to sustain trying to build an acting career for yourself. ArtNet News said that the struggle is real. Just released survey of international artists yields some dismal findings. In the US, a full 3/4 of artists made $10,000 or less per year just from their art. Close to half, 48.7% of them, made no more than $5,000 a year. Now, mind you, again, it's not all actors. This is just artists in general, but it's something that's important to realize when you're getting into this field of art. Money, as you probably have heard this before, can be a tricky situation. Doesn't mean you have to give up your art. My goal in this video is to try to help you not give up your art. It's trying to say, hey, how can we help sustain your art? to keep you going. Again, there's so many jobs out there. I'm not saying accounting is the best job. It's just the example for this video. Find any other job example that works for you, and then that's fine. Longevity is key, and I just need you to know that you have options for yourself. The next thing I want you to know is you must make a plan and do what will make you happy in the long run. You have to think about the long run, not just right now. It's very easy to think about right now, but it's just the same thing as you want to eat ice cream every single day. Because you know, okay, if you eat ice cream today, nothing's wrong with that. That's okay, have your ice cream today. But you know, if you have it every single day for the next 2 years, well, in the long term, that doesn't really help you out. You have to do the same thing with your acting. Don't just think, hey, what helps me out right now? Think about it like ice cream. What's going to help me in the next 2 years? Is having ice cream every single day going to be beneficial to me? Maybe not so. So you really have to think about the long term when it comes to any artistry. And the next truth is that going to school while pursuing acting is also okay. It's okay to go and try and get a degree in something else while you're auditioning. Matt Damon, I don't know if many of you know this, he wrote Good Will Hunting, and he was going to Harvard. He was at one of the biggest universities in the world, and then ended up getting very lucky with the script. It got picked up. Robin Williams is a part of it. He ended up quitting Harvard in order to go and pursue his acting career. In 2 years, if the movie wasn't made, he would have had a degree from Harvard doing whatever job that he has. The movie was made, so in 2 years, he didn't have a degree from Harvard, but they did win an Oscar for the movie, so he does get something out of it. It's the same with all of you. The thing that I want you to gain from this is that you have options. Just remember that. If you get anything from this video, realize that you have more options than you realize. I was even talking, I think it was 2 videos back, about headshots. I wanted you to realize you have more options than going and paying somebody $500 or $1,500 for headshots. You can. That option is always going to be there, but you have more options. In that video, I gave you 3 options with a potential 4th option for how to do headshots. A lot of people think you have to go and pay somebody to do it. My goal is to try and give you options and to give you longevity within this career. Remember, 2/3 of people quit after the first year. A lot of that has to do with finances. So if we can figure that out and figure out, hey, how can you get some good finances coming in for yourself while still pursuing acting at the same time, all of a sudden you're in this business for a longer period of time, which gives you more potential auditions, which gives you more potential for then booking your auditions. So I hope you found this video helpful. Again, let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section down below. I hope I was able to help all of you as much as I could. All right, peace.